Now, Dr. Hadi Al-Khalili, Culture Attaché at the Library at the Embassy of Iraq.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's with great appreciation and acknowledgement I acknowledge the generosity and support of the Library of Congress to make this conference a dream come true. Special thanks to Ms. Carolyn Brown, Dr. Brown, Director of Klug Center, and to Dr. Mary Jane Deeb, Chief of African Middle Eastern Division at the Library for leadership and support and time. Thanks go also to the wonderful staff of the African and Middle Eastern Division at the Library for all they have done. I acknowledge all distinguished speakers. For participants who offered to speak, please accept our apologies for not including you in the program as the list exceeded our allowed time. For those of you who are not listed as speakers, today we'll have time during the final session to speak for 2 minutes each. The level of support we have received has overwhelmed us, and it shows the great willingness among all to help Iraq and humanity. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming today and sharing with us this event. We hope that we shall learn about what is currently being done, what the current needs are, and what perhaps to do together to address these needs. And thank you. From the time of primordial soup and Adam and Eve, all humans are equal under the sun. And all humans are equal under the microscope. And all of those people are with the same brain representation. That's how we look in our brain, all of us. Spacecraft Pioneer 10 and 11 representation of current civilization went back to represent current civilization as Adam and Eve. Along history, great people sacrificed for all humanity. In our time, too. The famous Tutti Fratelli, which means all are brothers, was the slogan of the women of the town of Castiglione in northern Italy, in the Battle of Solferino, where Henry Dunant was there, and he left the job he was going to do and shared in helping the injured with the ladies of Solferino, and the Red Cross started, and the world was never the same. Since then, hundreds of thousands of organizations started. In USA now, more than 1,200,000 NGOs helping people and humanity. In Iraq, around 4,000 now. Abraham Maslow proposed in his 1943 a paper, a theory of human motivation and human needs, that the human needs are this triangle, starting with the physiological needs, the safety and security, belonging, love, esteem, cognitive and aesthetic, and actualization. In fact, the physiological needs include food, water, breath, sleep, sex, security of self, possession, health, love and belonging, friendship, family relations, esteem, education, confidence, respect, and self-actualization, morality, and activities. Have the Iraqi people today secured any after 5 years? Have they secured food, water, breath, sleep, security of self, possessions, health, education, confidence, morality, etc.? Iraq previously was, as His Excellency was saying, that flourishing with lots of culture in the past and in the modern history. One example is this lady, the Queen Beauty of Iraq in 1947. So there was this sense of beauty and culture and having this contest at that time. In the 50s, this professor, this teacher was teaching the students, female students, teaching them art. He's the one who made that plaque on the top, Jawad Salim, that monument. So there were ladies coming to study art, and with their dress you can see how good they are, how very well dressed, how cultured they are. And Baghdad looked really like any modern city in the neighborhood. And people used to live together, the Shia, the Sunni, the Christian, the Sabi, everybody was living together and loving each other. And this is the countryside of many places, some places in Iraq. And that's the Baghdad University. And it's interesting to tell you this arch you see on the left side. This is designed by Greek-American architect. And each limb of the art, represent a hemisphere of the brain. And there is a gap on the top, if you see it. And this is called the open mind. So the gap will never close, and the mind will thrive to learn more. And this is just a house, and the classical house in Iraq. But then the problems started, and we have this mass grave problems, and the poisoning, and the draining of the marshes, which was a real disaster to ecology. After that, the war started with all its after effects, and the looting, and the destruction, and the looters. And then the museum even was not safe from this disaster of looting. And Samarra started the problem where life was different after that. This is Mutanabbi Street, the culture street. This is over the weekend, no traffic on that road, and books were laid on the ground, and everybody sells books, buys books, and enjoying being with books. The lady sells, the child sells, everybody sells, but then the insurgents created the disaster to destroy all this culture and hope. And then this is the Shabandar Cafe, the culture cafe, where retired people, educated, they sit together and enjoy talking to each other and educate each other, educate others. But unfortunately, after the explosion, it went into this disaster. And you can see the problem included children, families, and tenderness you can see with the feeling of this soldier. I'm going to give an overview of now problems in education, health, and socio-economic. Our major challenge really is security, and security goes into every part of our life, even beyond education, health, and socio-economic. We have in Iraq 1,854 schools, that's high school and below. Total teachers, about 350,000, and over 6 million students. Universities, 22 universities, 281 colleges, over 31,000 faculty, and over 400,000 students. Education main issues, in fact, is continuous loss of academics. It's unfortunate that we have problems, as again his ambassador mentioned, that our problem started in 1958, and at each corner we have a decline of the number of faculty and educated people and leaders of the community. And then only in 1976 we had just inflow of some of the guys, of the educated people came there, and many of them, they left the country. The massacre of the medical city, we call it, when Saddam dismissed 49 top professors and teachers from a medical school for no reason. And we call it massacre because the British at that time called it the massacre of the medical city in their literature, medical literature. And then the killing, kidnapping, mass exodus came to really evacuate the country from all its talents. Of the academics killed until 2007, a total of about 299. In fact, a week ago, a colleague of mine, one of my students, he was a neurosurgeon at Basra, he was leading neurosurgeon in Basra, he was killed in front of the hospital. So it's still going on, this killing of academics and professionals. Qualifications of murdered academics. You can see the PhD makes 62% of those lost. So there is a target of really destroying the community from these real good leaders. Different fields were targeted. The medical, sciences, humanities, all branches of knowledge. Human resources, we have loss of faculty. As I said, killed, left country. Attendance of students and faculty depends on the security issue again. Mental status of faculty and students who live in Iraq and those who left Iraq. All of them, they have mental problems and mental status is not very clear and happy. Lack of communication with the outside, because over the sanction and over the time of Saddam, all the medical community, the educated community, the university communities, leaders, they were not communicating with any source of knowledge outside the country. Lack of fellowships, lack of updating, teaching methods were still hanging behind, e-learning was not started, and there was some problem with material resources, buildings, they needed renovation, electricity, air conditioning, labs were not up to date, libraries were lacking journals and books, curriculum still behind, computers not available, equipments are not there. And in the health issue, in the mid-1980s, Iraq had one of the most effective and modern health systems in the Arab world. And 97 of urban population and 79 of population in the rural areas, they had primary, secondary, and tertiary health care, which is not the case in all surrounding countries at that time. Wars and sanctions caused massive deterioration in health and education. You can see this as an example. I'm sorry, I cannot point here. You can see Iraq, where the life expectancy is just under 65, and then it went low. And the mortality of children has gone from 50 and to over 100 per thousand. In the hospital services and health services, we have 172 hospitals and primary care centers, about more than 1,300, and 30,000 beds with 65 private hospitals. In fact, I was told that recently by our officials that what we need, in fact, 85,000 beds for the country. So we're lacking about more than 50,000 beds to care about our people. 34,000 physicians we had before 2003, and more than 2,000 killed. This is not accurate figure, but maybe more. I think it tends to be more. Again, I was told by our guys in Iraq that less than 10,000 doctors are left in the country now to care about people. There are many places where there are no doctors. Cities, they have no real doctors in the hospitals. So you have lack of services, lack of hope, lack of nutrition, lack of equipment, and then this guy, he preferred to take his child home with the nasogastric tube in. The public health issues is the major problem. And then 70% of Iraqi population is without adequate water supply. Again, that figure is not necessarily to be accurate. I suppose it is even more now. And 80% lack of adequate sanitation. Vulnerable groups, children, pregnant women, and injured persons, they are more prone for problems because most of the time, they are helpless. Emergency rooms and operation theaters are often not able to cope with the number of casualties. At the same time, they lack qualified and experienced medical staff and medical supplies. So it's a twofold problem. In the human resources, we have problems with, as I said, doctors, nurses, great loss and need for nursing and nurses, health workers, infrastructure is not there as it was, engineers who maintain the equipment, who care about the medical physiological tests and things, medical education is not there, and administration is very poor. Lack of communication with the outside world of the medical community, and lack of public health education to people, community. We have problem with cancer, endemic diseases, chronic diseases, cholera outbreak, for instance, as an example. And then we have problem with material and resources, buildings, library, utilities. Electricity is not there to store the vaccines, to store the special drugs, which need special storage. Most of the warehouses, the Ministry of Health is in places where there are hot areas. Nobody can go there, and everything was looted. Statistics, medical records, equipment, maintenance, all these really are needed to be addressed in general. Drugs, vaccination, x-rays, labs, ambulances, disposables. One major health problem is cancer. And I was the vice chair of the Iraqi Cancer Board, so I can speak with some background. You can see the population curve is going just slowly up with around 3% increase yearly. But this cancer, when this study was made in 1999, and we expected that cancer will come 2008, so high exponentially. And to my belief, I think in 10 years' time, Iraq will have epidemic of cancer from all the pollution that we had in water, and air, and food, and everything. One example is brain tumors, and you can see how much the increase was in the southern provinces, and including Salah ad-Din, which is not southern, but it has problems there with explosions of weapon depots and many other things. So you can see that the brain tumor escalated significantly in 1999. That's after the 1991 thing. Improving people's health can be the key to breaking a vicious circle of anger and distrust and give Iraqis a much needed sense of hope. And in the socio-economic side, corruption is a major problem, and this is, we call, the second insurgency. Psychology and mental health being affected, and you can see this cartoon which says there are many types of bombs, roadside and other bombs, but the most dangerous bomb is the time bomb of this child in the future. He will be a time bomb, psychological time bomb. So we have to address these maybe millions of children who needed to be addressed. Orphanage is another problem. This child, he has no family. They just found him. He has no name, and representative of the problems we have in the country. Refugees, another problem, major problem, again from the health and education point of view. We have over 2 million people displaced, living inside Iraq at the Sahara Desert, well, different places including Sahara Desert. Some have no tent or any shelter, desperate need for medicine, food, water, and heating, no health care, no education. And even those who are living in cities, they have great problem because they are burdening the people they are living with in the way of their resources and health care. 2 million displaced abroad, no education, no job prospects. Their anger and violence is threatening the world, the whole region and the world, in fact, and that's what Amnesty International stated. The future of manpower, these lovely kids, they are powerless. They don't know what to do, and they are in Jordan. And this lady, she sleeps rough at the streets of Amman, Jordan. No violence, okay, but faces real hardship. In last January, I visited Jordan, and I met with the leading doctors on the left and the leading academics on the right, and the top doctors on the left. The first one on the left is the best, to my knowledge and to many people's satisfaction. He's the best gastroenterologist in the Middle East, Professor Zuhair Bahrani. And the bottom one on the right is a real symbol and picture of real achievement. That's the IRD volunteers in Iraq, and they care about 7,500 families. And I met with them, and they are doing really great job. Poverty is another problem. 4 million of Iraqis of the total population cannot regularly buy enough to eat and are now dependent on food assistance. And the figure is definitely more. These kids, they are the main supply of money to their family. Collapse of family, loss of parents, religious problems, causes for collapse, mental illness, chronic illness, all cause disruption of the family life. And to conclude, the problem is massive, the crisis is very, very significant, the tunnel is long, but there is definitely a good light, good deal of light at the end of the tunnel. And there are some good news. Many organizations are presenting great help to Iraq. The Library of Congress, as Dr. Deeb was saying, with this generous offer to help the Iraqi archives. ACR, the American College of Radiology, they secured 6 scholarships for radiologists to come and train here for free. The IRD, as I said, doing a great job in different aspects of life. USAID, they did and doing great job all the time. SAMHSA from the Department of Health, doing great job with the mental health program. They are getting 7 teams of 4 members to train here for 2 months and do research in Iraq. CRDF, they are doing really great job in many aspects. Henry Ford Health System, they kindly offer 100 scholarships for Iraqi doctors to come here for 1 month training for free. Books for Iraq, this is Dr. Hamdani in Jacksonville, Alabama. He sent tens of thousands of books. Brothers, they are now sending, early April, sending books to 20 medical schools and batches of New England Journal of Medicine to 50 hospitals and surgical equipments. And these books were donated from the American Publishers Association when I met with them last February in their meeting last year. So it is now formalized. In the archaeology side, we are very grateful to Professor John Russell and his work and the people at the Department of Homeland Security when they secured many looted items and they're going to hand them to us. Laptop computer, Dr. Nicholas Rigdoponti, in fact, I was so thrilled. He gave me a call 3 days ago and then he said he's donating 100 computers to Iraqi children with Arabic keyboard. Surgical instruments being donated by many and many others. In the outside US, the World Bank doing a great job and many projects there. UN, Doctors Without Borders, Government of Italy donated to us mobile surgical theater. I'm sure our friend is going to talk about it during his speech. And that was $2.5 million. And it is now in Iraq. The top quality specification operating theater. And we are in the process to get 3 more, I hope, from Italy. The British Council doing a great job. Royal Colleges of UK doing a fantastic job in the medical field. Many other countries and organizations all over the world doing a fantastic job. What I always feel, there are islands of goodness in an ocean of need. And really one dreams of getting these islands together to get a space to build something on, because small island will just will be great, but it will be better if coalescence will be, and then one island will be out of those 2. And we need to work in a team, and that together everyone achieves more. So we can achieve more for ourselves if we work within a team. Each one will get more. And more productivity in teaming together to reconstruct and develop health, education, and socio-economic fields and beyond in Iraq. We aim from this conference to bring together the various organizations currently working in Iraq, to create a forum for discussion, to facilitate cooperation among organizations, to encourage new ideas and solutions between for-profit and non-profit organizations, to keep Iraq and its great humanitarian need in the public eye. Hoping to ensure a better present and happy future for Iraqi children, keep them smiling, healthy, educated, and well, and thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Khalili. This was a very moving presentation.